Ho pushed his cleaning cart down the long silver hallway of the diplomatic station. The wheels made a soft sound against the metal floor. He wore the gray uniform of a janitor, and his face showed nothing special. Just another human worker doing his job. The station was busy today, more busy than Ho had seen in his 3 years of working here. Soldiers walked past him without looking at his face. Diplomats talked in low voices near the walls. Everyone was getting ready for something big. The Wolf Queen was coming. Ho had heard the stories about Queen. She ruled the Empire, a collection of 47 planets filled with her people. They looked like wolves that walked on 2 legs. They had sharp teeth, golden eyes, and fur that ranged from white to black. They were known across the galaxy as fierce warriors and proud rulers. Today, Queen was coming to sign a peace agreement with the Human Alliance. It was a big moment. After years of cold relations and small fights along the border, both sides wanted peace. The ceremony would happen in the Grand Hall, the biggest room on the station. Ho stopped his cart near a window and looked outside. He could see the ships arriving. They were beautiful in a dangerous way, with sharp angles and dark metal. The biggest ship carried the Queen herself. "Hey, human," a voice said behind him. Ho turned around. A guard stood there, his fur gray and his eyes watching Ho with suspicion. The guard was tall, almost 2 meters, and his claws clicked against the floor. "The Grand Hall needs cleaning before the ceremony," the guard said. "Make sure everything is perfect. If there is one spot of dirt when the Queen arrives, I will hold you responsible." Ho bowed his head slightly. "Yes, sir, I will clean it now." The guard walked away without another word. Ho pushed his cart toward the Grand Hall. He was used to this treatment. Humans were still new to the galactic community. Many alien species saw them as weak, young, and unimportant. A human janitor was barely worth noticing. But Ho did not mind being invisible. In fact, he preferred it. The Grand Hall was huge. The ceiling was high enough to make a person feel small. Large windows showed the stars outside. Long tables were set up for the ceremony, covered with white cloth and decorated with flowers from both human and worlds. At the center of the room was a raised platform where the signing would happen. Ho started cleaning. He moved slowly and carefully, checking every corner. He wiped the tables, cleaned the floor, and made sure the windows had no marks on them. His eyes moved constantly, seeing everything. This was not normal behavior for a janitor, but Ho was not a normal janitor. 10 years ago, he had been someone else. He had been part of a military unit that did not officially exist. They had no name, no records, and no medals. They did the jobs that no one talked about. Ho had been one of the best. Then something happened, something bad. Ho left that life behind and became invisible. He took the name of a dead man, found a job that no one wanted, and tried to forget the things he had learned. But some things cannot be forgotten. An hour later, the ceremony was about to begin. Ho stood in the corner of the Grand Hall with his cart, ready to clean up any small messes during the event. The room was now full of important people. Human diplomats in dark suits, nobles in their ceremonial armor, soldiers from both sides standing at attention. Then the main doors opened, and Queen walked in. She was impressive. Her fur was pure white, rare among. She wore armor made of black metal that seemed to absorb light. A crown of silver sat between her pointed ears. She walked with the confidence of someone who had never known fear. Behind her came 2 guards, and between them walked a smaller figure. It was a young, maybe 10 years old in human terms. She had the same white fur as her mother, but her eyes were different. They were blue instead of gold, bright and curious. She looked around the room with wonder. This was Princess, the Queen's only daughter. Was seated on a special hover seat, a small floating chair designed for royalty. It kept her at the perfect height and moved smoothly through the air. She seemed comfortable on it, like she had used it many times before. The ceremony began. Speeches were made by both human and leaders. They talked about peace, about cooperation, about a new future for both species. Ho listened with half his attention while his eyes continued to watch the room. Old habits never really died. During a long speech by a human diplomat, Ho noticed something. Princess was moving in her seat, trying to get comfortable. This was normal for a child who had to sit through boring adult events, but something else caught Ho's attention. There was a small shadow under the hover seat. Ho narrowed his eyes. The hover seat should have had a clean bottom. It was a simple design with the lifting mechanism hidden inside. There should be nothing underneath. He moved slowly along the wall, getting closer to the princess without being obvious about it. The guards did not notice him. Why would they notice a janitor? When he was close enough, Ho pretended to pick up something from the floor. He looked under the hover seat for just 1 second. His blood went cold. Attached to the bottom of the seat were 3 small creatures. They looked like ticks, round and dark, each about the size of a coin. But Ho knew they were not normal ticks. He had seen them before, in a mission he was never supposed to talk about. They were ticks, bioengineered weapons banned in 12-star systems. Once activated, they would explode with enough force to destroy everything within 10 meters. Princess was sitting on a bomb. Ho stood up slowly. His face showed nothing, but inside his mind was racing. Someone had planted these weapons. Someone wanted to kill the princess, maybe start a war between humans and... He had minutes, maybe less, before the ticks detected the rising heat from his body and exploded. Ho looked around the room. He could not shout a warning. The panic would cause people to run, and the movement would set off the ticks immediately. He could not tell the guards. They would not believe a human janitor, and any sudden action near the princess would trigger disaster. He had to handle this himself. His hands were steady as he pushed his cleaning cart forward. The old training was waking up inside him, skills he thought he had buried forever. He knew exactly what he needed to do. The only question was whether he could do it in time. Ho started walking toward the princess. Each step was calm and measured. To anyone watching, he looked like a janitor going about his business. But inside, a ghost soldier was preparing for the most important mission of his life. He had to save Princess. He had to stop a war. And he had to do it without anyone knowing what he really was. Ho moved through the crowd like water flowing around rocks. He did not push anyone. He did not hurry. He just walked forward with his cleaning cart, looking like a man doing his job. But his mind was working faster than it had in years. Ticks. He remembered the first time he had seen them. It was on a planet called Seven during a mission that never happened. His team had been sent to stop an assassination. They had failed. The explosion had killed 14 people, including 3 of his teammates. The memory burned in his chest like fire. He knew exactly how the ticks worked. They were not machines. They were living creatures, grown in secret labs by criminals who sold death to the highest buyer. The ticks attached themselves to any surface and waited. When they sensed enough body heat, they released a chemical that caused a massive explosion. The heat trigger was the key. Right now, the ticks under seat were sensing her body warmth. They were measuring, calculating, waiting for the right moment. Ho guessed he had maybe 5 minutes, maybe less. He also knew something else about ticks. They had motion sensors. If you tried to remove them quickly, they would explode immediately. If you bumped the surface they were attached to, they would explode. Even a sudden loud noise could set them off. This was why they were so feared. There was almost no way to stop them once they were planted. Almost. Ho had been trained to disarm ticks. His unit had spent 2 months learning the technique from a scientist who had helped design them. The process was slow, delicate, and required perfect concentration. One small mistake would kill everyone nearby. He had never actually done it in the field. No one in his unit had. The training was meant for the worst possible situation, a situation that everyone hoped would never come. Now that situation was here. Ho stopped his cart about 3 meters from the princess. He pretended to clean a small mark on the floor, but his eyes were watching everything. Queen was standing near the platform, talking with a human general. The guards were spread around the room, watching for threats from outside. None of them were looking at the little princess who sat quietly on her hover seat, was playing with her fingers, clearly bored by the long ceremony. She had no idea that death was sitting just below her. Ho felt his heart beating hard in his chest. He forced himself to breathe slowly. Panic was the enemy. If he panicked, everyone would die. He started going through the disarmament process in his mind. First, he needed to get close to the ticks without causing alarm. Second, he needed to apply a cooling agent to slow down the heat sensors. Third, he needed to disconnect the motion sensors one by one. Fourth, he needed to remove the ticks and contain them before they could receive any trigger signal. The whole process would take at least 3 minutes. He would need to be directly under the hover seat, with his hands hidden from view. He would need the princess to stay completely still. And he would need everyone in the room to ignore him completely. Impossible. It was completely impossible. But Ho had done impossible things before. He checked his cleaning cart. Inside were the usual supplies: cleaning liquids, cloths, a small vacuum, and various tools. None of them were designed for disarming bombs, but he had learned long ago to work with what he had. The cooling agent was the first problem. He needed something very cold to slow down the tick sensors. He looked at his supplies and found a container of glass cleaner. It was not cold enough on its own, but he remembered something from his chemistry training. He took the glass cleaner and mixed it with a powder from another container. The reaction was quick and silent. The liquid became ice cold, almost freezing. It would not last long, but it might be enough. The second problem was the motion sensors. He needed something thin and sharp to disconnect them. He looked through his cart again and found a small tool used for cleaning tight spaces. It was not perfect, but it would have to work. The third problem was time. He was running out of it. Ho made his decision. He pushed his cart forward, moving toward the area where Princess sat. A guard looked at him briefly, then looked away. Why would anyone worry about a janitor cleaning the floor? He stopped his cart next to the princess's hover seat, looked down at him with curiosity in her blue eyes. "Hello," she said in the common language. Her voice was high and young. "What are you doing?" Ho's heart almost stopped. He had not expected her to talk to him. He forced a small smile onto his face. "Just cleaning, young princess," he said softly. "Please stay very still. There is some dirt under your seat that I need to remove." Nodded. "Okay. My mother says cleanliness is important." "Your mother is very wise." Ho knelt down beside the hover seat. From this position, he could see the 3 ticks clearly. They were pulsing slightly, a sign that they were entering the final stage of activation. He had even less time than he thought. He reached into his cart and took out the cold liquid he had made. Moving very slowly, he brought his hand under the seat. The princess stayed perfectly still, just as he had asked. The first tick was the hardest. Ho's hand was shaking slightly as he applied the cold liquid. He had to control his breathing. He had to ignore the fear that was screaming in his mind. He had to be the ghost soldier again, the man who felt nothing during a mission. The cold liquid touched the first tick. The creature stopped pulsing for a moment. The cold was slowing down its sensors. Ho had bought himself maybe 1 more minute. He moved to the second tick, then the third. Each one received the cold treatment. Each one slowed down. But he knew the effect would not last long. He had to move to the next step. A guard walked past him. Ho did not look up. He kept his hands under the seat, his body blocking the view from anyone who might be watching. The guard did not stop. Ho took out his thin tool. Now came the most dangerous part. He had to disconnect the motion sensors without triggering them. One wrong move, one small shake, and the ticks would explode. His hands stopped shaking. His mind went quiet. Everything else in the room disappeared. There was only him, the tool, and the three creatures that wanted to kill this innocent child. He started with the first tick. The motion sensor was a tiny thread attached to the creature's body. He had to cut it without touching anything else. He held his breath and moved the tool closer. The thread broke. The tick went still. One down, two to go. Above him made a small sound. "Are you almost done?" "Almost," Ho whispered. "Please stay still just a little longer." "Okay." He moved to the second tick. His tool found the motion sensor thread. He pressed gently, carefully, and the thread broke. The tick stopped moving. Two down, one to go. The last tick was in a difficult position, pressed against the edge of the hoverseat's bottom. Ho had to twist his hand at an awkward angle to reach it. His wrist started to ache. He found the motion sensor thread. He positioned his tool. He started to press. At that moment, Queen's voice rang out across the room. "Come here, it is time for the signing." The princess started to move. "No," Ho said too loud. His hand jerked and the tool touched the tick's body. For one terrible second, everything stopped. Ho waited for the explosion. He waited for death. Nothing happened. His tool had missed the trigger by less than a millimeter. The princess froze, scared by his sudden voice. Guards started turning toward them. Queen was looking at the strange human near her daughter. Ho had 1 second to finish this. He moved faster than he had ever moved in his life. The tool cut the last thread. His other hand grabbed all 3 ticks at once. He pulled them away from the seat and shoved them into a cleaning container, sealing it tight. Then he fell backwards onto the floor, holding the container against his chest. The ticks were contained. The princess was safe. But now everyone in the room was staring at him, and a dozen weapons were pointed at his head. Ho lay on the floor with his arms wrapped around the container. He did not move. He barely breathed. Around him, chaos was erupting. "Seize him," a guard shouted. "Protect the princess," another voice called. Heavy boots ran across the floor. Ho felt clawed hands grab his shoulders and pull him up. 2 guards held him tightly, their strength far beyond anything a human could match. A 3rd guard pointed a weapon at his face. Queen moved quickly. She ran to her daughter and pulled into her arms, checking the young princess for any injury. Looked confused and scared, but she was not hurt. "Mother, what is happening?" asked. "I do not know, little one," the queen said. Her golden eyes were fixed on Ho with a look that could freeze fire. "But I will find out." The human diplomats were also reacting. General Park, the leader of the human delegation, pushed through the crowd toward the scene. His face was pale with worry. "What is happening here?" General Park demanded. "Why is this worker being held?" "This human attacked my daughter," Queen said, her voice cold and sharp like a blade. "He touched her seat and grabbed something from underneath it. He may have been trying to plant a weapon." "No," Ho said. His voice was calm even though his heart was pounding. "I was not planting a weapon. I was removing one." The room went silent. Queen's eyes narrowed. "Explain yourself, human." "Your daughter was sitting on top of 3 ticks," Ho said. "They are bioengineered explosives. Someone planted them there to kill her. I removed them before they could detonate." The Queen's face changed. For just a moment, fear flashed across her features. Then her expression became hard again. "Ticks are banned," she said. "How would you, a simple cleaner, know anything about such weapons?" This was the question Ho had hoped to avoid. He had spent 10 years hiding from his past. He had built a quiet life away from the blood and the secrets. Now all of that was about to end. But he could not lie, not when a child's life was at stake. "Because I was trained to disarm them," he said simply. The guard holding the weapon pressed it closer to Ho's head. He admits he knows about forbidden weapons. He is clearly a spy or an assassin. If I was an assassin, Ho said quietly, your princess would be dead. I had perfect access to her. No one was watching me. I could have killed her easily. Instead, I risked my own life to save her. Queen studied him for a long moment. Ho could see her mind working behind those golden eyes. She was not just a warrior queen. She was smart, careful, and she knew how to read people. Show me what is in that container, she ordered. The guards tried to take the container from Ho, but he held on tight. Be careful, he warned. The ticks are still alive. If you shake the container too hard or open it in the wrong way, they will explode. Everyone within 10 meters will die. The guards hesitated. They looked at their queen for guidance. How do we safely check your claim? The queen asked. You need a containment field, Ho explained. Put the container inside the field, then open it remotely. The field will absorb the explosion if I am lying. If I am telling the truth, you will see the ticks inside. Queen nodded slowly. She turned to one of her guards. Bring a containment field from our ship. Do it quickly. The guard ran out of the room. While they waited, no one moved. The weapon stayed pointed at Ho's head. The guards kept their grip on his arms. Everyone watched in tense silence. Princess pulled on her mother's armor. Mother, the human, was nice to me. He asked me to stay still, and he was very gentle. I do not think he wanted to hurt me. Queen looked down at her daughter. Something soft appeared in her eyes for just a second. Then she looked back at Ho. My daughter seems to trust you, she said. Children often see what adults miss, but trust must be earned with proof, not words. I understand, Ho said. The proof is in the container. General Park stepped forward. Your Majesty, I must apologize for this disruption. I do not know who this man is, but I assure you that if he has done anything wrong, he will face the full punishment of human law. Let us wait and see what he has done, the Queen replied. Justice requires truth first. The minutes passed slowly. Ho felt the weight of every second. His arms were starting to ache from holding the container so tightly. The guard's claws dug into his shoulders, but he did not complain. He did not move. Finally, the guard returned with a small device. It was a portable containment field, designed to capture small explosions and dangerous materials. He set it up on one of the ceremony tables and activated it. A blue energy field appeared, forming a cube about half a meter on each side. Place the container inside, Queen ordered. The guards pushed Ho forward. Carefully, very carefully, he placed the container inside the blue field. Then he stepped back. A technician operated the remote controls. The container's lid opened slowly. Everyone in the room held their breath. Inside the container were 3 small, dark creatures. They looked exactly as Ho had described. Round, tick-like, with tiny legs and pulsing bodies. Even through the containment field, people could see that they were alive. Ticks, Queen whispered. Her face had gone pale. There really were ticks under my daughter's seat. She turned to Ho. Her expression had completely changed. The anger was gone, replaced by something Ho did not expect. Respect. You saved my daughter's life, she said. You saw a threat that all my guards missed, and you stopped it at great risk to yourself. I did what anyone would do, Ho said. No, the Queen shook her head. You did what almost no one could do. Disarming ticks requires training that only a few beings in this galaxy possess. You are not a simple cleaner. Who are you really? The question hung in the air. Everyone was waiting for his answer. General Park looked confused. The human diplomats whispered among themselves. Even the guards seemed curious. Ho took a deep breath. His secret life was over. There was no point in lying anymore. My name is not important, he said. But 10 years ago, I was part of a human military unit. We did not have a name or official records. We were trained to handle situations that no one else could handle. Tick disarmament was part of our training. Ghost soldiers, General Park said, his voice barely above a whisper. I thought those were just rumors. Rumors are sometimes based on truth, Ho replied. Queen walked toward him slowly. The guards moved aside to let her pass. She stopped right in front of Ho and looked into his eyes. She was taller than him and her presence was overwhelming, but Ho did not look away. Why did you leave that life? She asked. Why did a ghost soldier become a janitor? The memories came flooding back. The failed mission, the explosion, his teammates dying in front of him, the guilt that he carried every day. Because I failed, Ho said quietly. I failed to save people I cared about. I decided I was not fit for that life anymore. The Queen was silent for a moment. Then she did something that shocked everyone in the room. She bowed her head to him. You may have failed before, she said, but today you did not fail. Today you saved the most precious person in my life. For that I am forever grateful. Ho did not know what to say. He had expected punishment, not gratitude. He had expected anger, not respect. The question now, the Queen continued, raising her head, is who planted those ticks. Someone wanted my daughter dead. Someone wanted to destroy this peace ceremony. Her eyes became hard again. I intend to find them and I intend to make them pay. She turned to her guards. Release this man. He is not our enemy. He is a hero. The guards let go of Ho's arms. He rubbed his shoulders where their claws had left marks. Around the room, people started talking again. The tension was breaking, but a new kind of tension was forming. Someone had tried to start a war, and that someone was still out there. The ceremony was put on hold. Guards sealed all exits from the station. No ship was allowed to leave. Queen ordered a full investigation, and General Park agreed to help. Ho sat in a small room near the Grand Hall. They had given him water and food, but he had not touched either. His mind was too busy thinking about what had happened. Someone had tried to kill Princess. The plan was clever. If the princess had died during the peace ceremony, both sides would have blamed each other. They would have accused the humans of assassination. The humans would have it. Trust would have shattered and war would have followed. But who would benefit from a war between humans and... The door opened and Queen walked in. She was alone without her guards. This surprised Ho. A queen should never be without protection. May I sit? She asked. Ho nodded and gestured to the chair across from him. The Queen sat down gracefully, her white fur catching the light from the window. I wanted to speak with you privately, she said. There are questions I need answered, and I believe you may be able to help. I will help however I can, Ho said. Tell me about ticks, the Queen said. Not the official information, the real information. Things that only someone with your training would know. Ho thought for a moment. The information was classified, but that no longer mattered. A child's life was worth more than secrets. Ticks are grown on a planet called Seven, he began. The planet is controlled by a criminal group called the Silent Hand. They sell the ticks to anyone who can pay the price. The cost is very high, at least 1 million credits per tick. 3 million credits, the Queen said. That is a serious investment for an assassination. Yes, whoever did this had deep resources and strong motivation. The Queen leaned forward. During my research on humans, I learned that your species has many internal conflicts. Different nations, different factions, different beliefs. Is it possible that a human group wanted to stop this peace agreement? Ho had already considered this. There were indeed humans who did not want peace with the... Some business people made money from the tension between the two species. Some military leaders wanted to prove that humans were stronger than the wolf people. Some politicians used fear of aliens to gain power. It is possible, he admitted, but I do not think a human group did this. Why not? Because of how the ticks were planted. Ho stood up and walked to the window. The princess's hover seat was brought from your ship. It was guarded by soldiers the entire time. A human would have had great difficulty getting close enough to plant the ticks. The Queen's eyes widened slightly. You are saying that a planted the bombs. I am saying it is more likely. The ticks were placed with expert skill in a position where they would not be seen. Whoever did it knew the princess's schedule. They knew which seat she would use. They had access to royal equipment. Queen stood up abruptly, her claws extended, a sign of strong emotion among. A traitor. Someone in my own court wants my daughter dead. It seems so, Ho said quietly. The Queen paced around the small room. Her tail moved in sharp, angry motions. Ho had seen many powerful people receive bad news, but few had handled it with such controlled fury. If I return to my ship and announce this, she said, the traitor will know we suspect them. They will hide or escape. That is true. But if I say nothing, they may try again. Also true. The Queen stopped packing and looked at Ho. I need to find this traitor quickly and quietly. I need someone who can investigate without being noticed, someone who can move through shadows. A ghost, Ho said. Yes, a ghost. The Queen walked closer to him. You have skills that my guards do not have. You see things that others miss. You saved my daughter when no one else even knew she was in danger. Your Majesty, I am not that person anymore. I left that life behind. And yet when the moment came, you acted. Your training did not disappear. Your instincts did not fail. You are still a ghost soldier, whether you admit it or not. Ho felt the truth of her words. He had tried so hard to be normal. He had tried to forget everything he had learned. But today had proven that some things could not be forgotten. What are you asking me to do? He asked. Help me find the traitor. Work with my security chief to investigate everyone who had access to seat. Use your skills to uncover the truth. The Queen paused. I know I am asking much, but my daughter's life may depend on it. Ho looked out the window at the stars. For 10 years, he had hidden from his past. He had believed that staying invisible would keep everyone safe. But today, being invisible had allowed him to save a life. Maybe hiding was not the answer. Maybe his skills were meant to be used, not buried. I will help you, he said finally, but I have conditions. Name them. First, no one can know who I really am. As far as everyone is concerned, I am still just a janitor who got lucky. Agreed. Second, I work alone. Your security people will share information with me, but they will not follow me or question my methods. That is difficult, the Queen said. My guards will not like a human operating freely on our ship. If they follow me, the traitor will know. I can only succeed if I am invisible. The Queen considered this. Her golden eyes studied Ho with new interest. You humans are strange creatures. You appear weak, but you hide great strength. You seem simple, but you have deep complexity. We are survivors, Ho said. That is what humans are, we survive. Very well, you will have your conditions, but I add one of my own. What is it? You will report directly to me. Not to my guards, not to my advisors, only to me. The traitor could be anyone, and I trust no one completely right now. Except me, Ho said. The Queen smiled slightly. It was the first time he had seen her smile. You saved my daughter with nothing to gain and everything to lose. If I cannot trust you, then I cannot trust anyone. She extended her hand in the human style of greeting. Ho was surprised. Did not usually adopt human customs so easily. He took her hand and shook it. Her grip was strong, her fur soft against his palm. We have an agreement, she said. Now let us catch a traitor. The next few hours were busy. Queen arranged for Ho to have access to the ship under the cover of being a technical consultant. The story was that he was checking the environmental systems for any problems. No one questioned why a human janitor suddenly became a consultant. People rarely questioned queens. Ho started his investigation by looking at the security recordings. He watched hours of footage showing the princess's hoverseat being prepared for the ceremony. He saw guards inspecting it, servants cleaning it, and technicians checking its systems. Then he saw something interesting. One of the technicians had spent an extra minute near the seat after everyone else had left. The footage was not clear enough to show exactly what he did, but his body language was wrong. He moved too carefully, too secretly. Ho noted the technician's name, Lieutenant Wu Jin. He was a who had joined the Queen's service 5 years ago. His record was clean. His performance reviews were excellent. He had no known political connections or financial problems. In other words, he was perfectly invisible, just like Ho had once been. But invisible people recognized each other. Ho decided to watch Lieutenant Wu Jin closely. The ghost was hunting now, and the prey did not even know it. 3 days passed. The peace ceremony was postponed while the investigation continued. Officially, both sides blamed a technical problem with the station. Unofficially, everyone was watching everyone else with suspicion. Ho worked quietly. He followed Lieutenant, the technician he had spotted on the recordings. He watched where went, who he talked to, and how he spent his time. This seemed normal in every way, but Ho had learned long ago that normal was often the best disguise. On the third night, made a mistake. Ho was hiding in a storage room near the communications center. He had been waiting for hours, barely moving, barely breathing. His training had taught him how to stay still for a very long time. Entered the communications center at midnight. He looked around carefully, checking that no one was watching. Then he sat at a terminal and began typing. Ho could not see what was typing, but he could see the destination address. It was not a military channel. It was not a personal message to family or friends. It was an encrypted channel used by the Silent Hand, the same criminals who made ticks. This was the proof Ho needed. He waited until finished his message and left the communication center. Then he followed through the ship's corridors, moved quickly, nervously, like someone who knew he was running out of time. They entered a small cargo bay and started preparing a personal shuttle. He was trying to escape. Ho stepped out of the shadows. "Going somewhere?" he asked calmly. Spun around. His golden eyes went wide when he saw the human standing there. His claws extended immediately. "You," the growled. "The human janitor, I heard about you. You ruined everything." "You were trying to kill an innocent child," Ho said. "I stopped you. Now you are going to tell me who hired you." Laughed. It was an ugly sound full of bitterness. "You think I will just confess? You are one small human. I am a warrior. I will tear you apart and continue my escape." "You can try." Moved fast, were strong and quick, built for hunting and fighting. His claws slashed toward Ho's throat with deadly speed. But Ho was not there. He had moved before even finished his attack. The ghost soldier training had taught him how to read body language, how to predict movements, how to be in the place where the enemy was not. Ho's hand struck his wrist, pushing the attack aside. His other hand hit a pressure point on his neck. Stumbled, suddenly dizzy and weak. Ho gasped, "You are just a human." "There is no such thing as just anything," Ho said. He moved behind and applied a hold that locked his arms behind his back. "Humans are full of surprises." Security guards burst into the cargo bay moments later. Queen was with them, her white fur glowing in the dim light. She looked at the scene before her, the traitor captured, the human standing over him like a silent hunter. "Lieutenant," the Queen said coldly, "I trusted you with my daughter's safety, and you tried to murder her." "You should have been murdered too," spat. "The Queen who makes peace with humans, the Queen who weakens our empire, you disgust me." "Who paid you?" Queen demanded. "Who sent the ticks?" Laughed again. "You will never know. The Silent Hand protects its clients. Kill me if you want. The truth dies with me." Ho spoke quietly. "He was sending a message to the Silent Hand when I found him. The communication logs will show who he was contacting. From there, we can trace the payment back to whoever hired him." His face changed. For the first time, fear appeared in his eyes. Queen smiled coldly. "Take him to the cells and bring me those communication logs." The guards dragged away. He was screaming curses, but no one cared about his words anymore. The Queen turned to Ho, her expression softened. "You have done more than I asked. You found the traitor in 3 days. My own security team could not do this in 3 months." "I was lucky," Ho said. "We both know that is not true." The Queen walked closer to him. "You have a gift, human. A gift for seeing what others miss. A gift for moving where others cannot go. A gift for protecting those who need protection. I am just trying to do what is right. And that is exactly why I want you to stay." Ho frowned. "Stay? What do you mean?" "My daughter needs protecting. The traitor was caught, but there may be others. There may be more threats in the future. I need someone I can trust completely. Someone with skills that no one else has." "You have many guards." "I have many guards who failed to see the bombs under my daughter's seat. You saw them. You stopped them. You saved her life." The Queen paused. "I am offering you a position in my royal guard, not as a regular soldier but as something special, a shadow protector for Princess." Ho was silent. This was not what he had expected. He had planned to return to his quiet life after the investigation ended. He had planned to go back to being invisible. But was that what he really wanted? For 10 years, he had been hiding from his past. He had been running from the guilt and the memories. He had believed that being invisible would keep everyone safe. But today, his skills had saved a child's life. His training had stopped a war. His gift for seeing things had uncovered a traitor. Maybe being invisible was not enough. Maybe he was meant for something more. "Can I see the princess?" he asked suddenly. The Queen nodded. "Of course." They walked together through the ship's corridors. Guards bowed to the Queen as she passed. They looked at Ho with curiosity, but no one stopped them. Princess was in her room, playing with a small holographic game. When she saw Ho, her blue eyes lit up with recognition. "You are the cleaning man," she said happily. "Mother told me what you did. You saved me from the bad things under my seat." Ho knelt down so he was at her level. "I did. Are you okay?" "I am fine. I was scared when everyone was shouting, but Mother told me I was safe." Tilted her head, studying him with childlike curiosity. "Mother says you are very brave. Are you going to stay with us?" Ho looked at the princess's innocent face. She had come so close to death, and she did not even fully understand it. She trusted him because he had been kind to her. She smiled at him because she saw something good in him. For the first time in 10 years, Ho felt something break inside him. The wall he had built around his heart cracked, and light came through. He had spent so long hating himself for the people he could not save. He had never considered that there might be people he could still save. "Yes," he said softly, "I am going to stay." Clapped her hands together. "Good. Will you teach me how you moved so fast? Mother's guards say you moved like a ghost." Ho smiled. It felt strange on his face, like a muscle that had not been used for too long. "Maybe when you are older." He stood up and turned to Queen. The Queen was watching him with something like hope in her golden eyes. "I accept your offer," Ho said. "I will protect your daughter. I will be her shadow." "Then welcome to my court, ghost soldier." The Queen extended her hand again. "You are the first human to ever hold such an honor among my people. I hope you understand what this means." Ho took her hand. "I understand. You are trusting me with your most precious treasure. And you are trusting me with your future. We are even." Later that week, the peace ceremony finally happened. The treaty was signed. Humans agreed to work together, trade together, and support each other in times of need. Ho stood in the corner of the grand hall, invisible as always. But this time he was not a janitor. He was a guardian. His eyes moved constantly, watching for any sign of danger. Princess sat on a new hover seat, one that had been checked 100 times for any threats. She looked over at Ho and gave him a small wave. He nodded slightly in return. A ghost had found his purpose, a soldier had found his peace, and a human had become something that the galaxy had never seen before, a protector of the Wolf Queen's daughter. It was a good ending, or maybe it was just the beginning.